That's what I'm talking about, son. Get you some of that daggone pie.
Woo-hoo! Looky there. There's your bug-eyed big one right there.
Getting started. We're getting started.
Here's what I'm talking about. Gosh dang gorilla.
Let's go, baby. Straight meat. God, look at that biggin.
Welcome in, everybody, to the BAM Pod. This is your host, Big Ed, and I am here tonight with Cliff Crochet, the Cajun baby. And we're going to be talking a little bit about some wintertime flipping and punching. Now, it's not something you normally get to talk about, wintertime and flipping, wintertime punching. It's not exactly what you really think about, but I'll tell you what, Cliff's going to break it down for you. He's going to tell you a little bit about how he does it, how he approaches it, and thanks for tuning in tonight. It's going to be a good show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome into the podcast. This is Big Ed, your host. And tonight we have Cliff Crochet. I believe I'm saying that correctly. He is a Bass Pro, the MLF Bass Pro Tour angler, and currently living in, I believe it was Pierre Part, Louisiana. And he's a heck of a guy. I met him down at the ICAST. Very good speaker, came on, talked about it. And we're going to talk a little bit about some stuff that, maybe you don't think about this time of year. And so Cliff, welcome into the show, man.
Yeah. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, buddy, I'll tell you what, you were one of the first guys I listened to when I was down there at ICAST. And I was actually really taken by your take on things. It was a little different coming from, the cold weather and everything else at the time, down in California at the time. We're going down to Florida. You're in this humidity, you're in all these different things. And, you're down there in that Louisiana area. So you've got all these different ways of fishing down there too, shallow water. I'm up here, we got a lot of deep water. We got a lot of, things like that. So it was really interesting to hear what you had to say at the time. So yeah, I was glad to be able to talk to you and get you on the show. And, so today we wanted to talk a little bit about, I had talked to you and it was some flipping and pitching and punching. And for us, that's really something we do more in the summertime than we do in the winter. But I am very interested in hearing what your take on all this is and how you kind of approach that during the wintertime.
Yeah. Punching is I like the frog fish and I like to punch. And in Louisiana, you can do both pretty much year round, except for the dead of winter. But punching, even no matter what the water temperature is, anywhere in the country, you can catch them punching. Just because fish live shallow year round. Fish like heavy cover. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. It just happens. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then the heat, the mats create heat. It's like a blanket. It's warm. It's dark. It's a good pressure point. And the thing I like about it is it's in your face. Real short cast. A lot of presentation. It never gets old. You're putting it right on their face. So it's just you don't need much to happen to catch and punch. You just need to make the right drop and you got a fish in the bowl. And the good thing about it, like I said, it's a year-round deal. From January 1 to December 31st, you can always catch them punching. I bet my name on.
Now, you're down in areas that have a lot of grass and a lot of cover. What do you do? What's your when you go to somewhere, because you're not always in that. So when especially with that tour that you're fishing, what's your winter, what do you do in the winter to make that a little different if you're not being able to punch? If do you switch to flipping something? Are you pretty much a structure guy? Is that your strong point?
Yeah, I'd say my strong point is contact fishing cover, being in contact with stuff. If they got mats around, that's always a plus. Mm-hmm. If you don't have mats, lay down anything physical, Lay downs are a good deal. Bridges are a good deal. I just want to touch something best I can. I tell you, one thing that I do like fishing is kind of different. We don't have a whole bunch in South Louisiana, but I've learned to like rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like rocks talk to you in a weird kind of way. Like, you know, you got pea gravel, you got chunk rock, you got basketball rock, you got baseball rock, you got all kind of rock that's boring sometimes, but man, sometimes it jumps out at you and it can be cool to fish. I like rocks. If mats are cool, but rocks is another piece of cover that I've learned to enjoy.
Now, is it something in the wintertime that you really, you know, this could, you know, because we're basically just right now, we're getting ready to go into winter. We're a couple, you know, few days out from that. And it's going to be a grind for a little bit. You know, the tours are going to start back up here soon, January, you know, February, that sort of thing for a lot of different places. Is that something that you're focusing on this time of year in this cold weather?
Yes. So like when that weather gets cold, that water temp gets down, first of the year, I go one or two approaches, really, really fast or really, really slow. And that's where flipping comes in at.
Mm-hmm.
Flipping an isolated cover, hard cover, rocks a deal. But everything just kind of, you know, you just kind of turn it down a little bit. I like to operate wide open sometimes. moving, just, you know, as fast as I can, as hard as I can. But in the wintertime, that water temperature, you just kind of dial it back a little bit. You know it's gonna be a slow day. You know it's gonna be a tough bite, generally speaking. Even if it's not a tough bite, it's generally a slow bite. Mm-hmm. You know, slow and steady. So that's where the flipping side of it comes in. Isolated cover, lay down, bridges, rocks, anything I can, boat docks, anything I can get my hands on, I can touch. And you just slow everything down, just calm down, and just repetitive casts, nice and slow. You kind of know what you're dealing with, so it helps. You know you're probably not getting 30 bites a day. Just nice and slow, turning over every stone, see what's underneath it, steady grinding, getting a little routine.
What's when you're starting to work those different areas? You mentioned boat docks, laydowns, rocks. What's your go-to baits when you're flipping and you're, you know, working that areas, when you're working those areas out?
Go-to baits, my number one flipping go-to bait from, you know, in the wintertime, that water's probably 60 and falling, is what I call wintertime. And that can be anywhere from, you know, 60 to 30 degree water. Number one, 1/2 ounce black and blue Crochet Lures jig, Grass Assassin jig, with a 4-inch Pocket Slim from NetBait. It's just a 1/2 ounce jig. If I'm dealing with some dirtier water, let's say 10 inches of visibility or less, I'm dealing with black and blue. If I'm dealing with some good visibility, I'm dealing with I'm going to like a craw pattern or a sexy craw, something more green pumpkin with a little orange in it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of go back and forth between those jigs depending on the watercolor.
Okay. What now, I guess when you're covering, you know, you talk about working real slow in the wintertime, you're going to slow everything down. Is there any reaction baits that you really look at this time of year? Like, are you just pretty much always going to be flipping? Is that you know, I'm just always slow, you know? So is it, you know, what is it?
No, my speed up bait, you know, like I said, you go really, really slow, really, really fast. Mm-hmm. And on the slow side of it, I flip that jig a lot. On the fast side of it, there's the jig just jumps right over to the fast, you know, fishing fast part of it. When I talk about fishing fast, I'm not talking about on a trolling motor fast. You know, I'm talking about retrieve fast.
Right.
And that jig just jumps right into that category. So what I'll do is I'll flip on a tree, flip on a tree, flip on a tree. Repetitive cast is a big deal. And then what I'll do is I'll make 2 or 3 casts back to the same thing, swimming that jig, shaking that rod tip. Even, you can do that right on the surface, or you can do it 2 or 3 foot below. Just swim that jig and shake that tip so that jig plays both sides of it. And then on the moving bait side, world famous rattle trap always plays into that.
Okay.
And I'm fishing a lot of the same cover, maybe the outside edges of it, and slow rolling that rattle trap or yo-yoing it. And another thing that jumps on that moving category is a spinner bait. I just happen to have my own Cliff Crochet spinner bait from Crusher Lures. Imagine that. But slow rolling a spinner bait is like the slow rolling a 1/2 ounce spinner bait. Clear waters, double withers. If I got a little water cut, I'm going Colorado, Indiana. And I feel like that slow rolling that spinner bait is a classic technique that we'd heard a lot about in the 90s, mid 90s, and then late 90s, and then once the chatterbait came out, and it seems like fishing has sped up a whole bunch since the early 2000s. Whole another conversation. But anyway,
yeah,
slow rolling that spinner bait is kind of like a lost, forgotten treasure. You know what I mean? So
right.
So I'm flipping and touching stuff when I'm slowing down, just being real, just real good at it, man. Just grinding, just a lot of casts, and I'm going to moving baits, swimming a jig, rattle trap, spinner bait. I'm doing the same thing, making repetitive casts, and these are moving baits. But you don't have to fish 100 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just moving baits with some action, and it's kind of a 1-2 punch that I think that works in the wintertime.
Yeah, that's like you say, it's kind of interesting. You say that it's kind of a lost art or a lost technique, because there's so many of those that I've seen. I look at some of the ways that guys used to fish back I'm going to go even older than what you just did, but back in the 70s, 80s, it was a lot different back then, and it was a lot more techniques. And I think if some have been lost and some are kind of making their way back, with all the, there's always that cutting edge, stuff like you talk about. You've got your own spinnerbait, and the spinnerbait, the crankbaits, the simple, the old lizards and things like that, have lost their way, and they've now started to come back, and guys are really re-recognizing those baits. I've seen the minnows, the metal minnows. I'm trying to think of it, like the jigging spoon style of things.
Blade baits.
Yeah, the blade baits. Now I'm starting to hear a little bit more about those in the wintertime. I'm starting to hear a little more about, and there's the things that guys have been using forever. Do you find yourself kind of looking for older ways to bring new again, or are you one of the cutting edge guys?
Bass Angler Magazine is your guide to better bass fishing. Bass Angler is dedicated to helping you catch more and bigger bass no matter what time of year or where you live. This is not your ordinary fishing magazine. Every issue is jam-packed with 30-plus articles from the world's best bass anglers. Bass Angler Magazine is available at bassanglermag.com, Tackle Warehouse, Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, Gander Mountain, Walmart, and better tackle shops everywhere. Bass Angler also makes a great gift for any angler. Get Bass Angler today and start catching more bass tomorrow. Visit bassanglermag.com or your favorite tackle shop. This is not your ordinary fishing magazine. bassanglermag.com.
No, I'm probably old school. I get stuck in it's stuck is a bad word. When you know what works, that's what you do.
Right.
Guys from all around the country have used techniques, and they've shown it, and it works. So, you stick to it. Now, I do think that learning new stuff and trying new stuff is important too. Mm-hmm. A technique that was new back when mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s was open water frog fishing.
Right.
I jumped all on that, and I've almost committed my life to open water frog fishing. That was a new technique that would looked exciting, looked interesting, and has definitely become a major part of my fishing style. I will tell you this story, but you always fishermen are always looking for things, whether it's old technique, new technique. We're always looking for something to get better, to look at things,
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing this to you because you're West Coast dude. You could probably fill me in on this. I did a seminar a while back, a few years ago, with a guy y'all know pretty well. I'm gonna mess up his name, but I'll let you fix it for him. Is Don Aviano?
Yeah.
Did I say it correctly? Would it make fun of me because
you were close.
Iovino.
Don Iovino.
Yeah.
Right.
So we do a seminar and we talking, and he's talking about his his meter and that stuff, and doodling and that whole deal, and talk about a contrast of topics when we got to talking to the crowd in the seminar. But I saw some baits, and he gave me a couple packs, and I lost them. But for a couple of years, I'm like, man, I need to get some more of those things, and I got some. I ordered them from Tackle Warehouse. A Don Ivino cow tongue.
A cow tongue?
Have you ever flipped that?
Yeah, you're definitely going a little older for me on that one, but yeah, I have. That is an older bait, yeah.
Well, sometimes, it's kind of like I'm not a big fashion person, but I know what was cool in the 70s and 80s circles back around.
Of course.
So fishing is the same thing, old techniques come back hard, come back new and refreshed. So
absolutely,
that's something that I don't know if it's new to me. It's not new to y'all on the West Coast and Don's followers, but it's new to me. I talking about baits and stuff. I do think I'm always looking for something new, something to show them a little different. And when trying new baits and stuff, new techniques, it's exciting for us, for me, for fishermen.
Right.
So it kind of re-energizes you when you try new stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, just to think that, because guys do that. I mean, these older techniques never stopped working. I mean, it's not like the fish. I mean, there's new fish born every day. They don't know what, that bait is. They don't know what a jig is, that naturally they're not born and going, oh, that just looks like a crawdad. That is what it is. But when you talk about that, guys have lost it in their head that they've lost those little techniques. It used to be out here on the West Coast, it was split shotting. It was slow dragging. It was, Carolina rigging was so big. I hardly ever hear of Carolina rigging anymore. Even on the big tours, every once in a while, somebody's like, yeah, I'm Carolina rigging something. And it's never like what I'm used to or how that, it used to be done. But there for a while, it was every tournament was being either won or top big checks being taken with that, that technique. You don't hear about it hardly anymore. I don't know if guys aren't doing it or they're just not talking about it, or it's not sexy to talk about like a swim bait or a chatter bait or a, whatever. So, I don't know if it's just a staple or not a staple anymore, but it's one of those things that, man, especially this time of year, that Carolina rig can be absolutely deadly all across the country.
You talk about being good this time of year, kind of going back to the flipping conversation we started with,
right?
Just dragging, man, flipping and dragging baits is a big deal this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about slow and fast, dragons a big deal, just super lazy fishing. But yeah, the Carolina rig is I don't know where it's going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it catches them, and I never messed with the Carolina rig a whole bunch because I was talking about earlier, I'm cover, like to put stuff in cover, I like to touch stuff. But yeah, I don't know what them old baits, man. Things cycle. And what's funny is it's kind of embarrassing. I kind of get embarrassed when it happens to you. But if you go back in your shell or go back in your boat, open your tackle boxes, and you're like, man, look at that bait right there. Like maybe a favorite Colorado trap or a bag of lizards or Carolina rig, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And you're like, man, back when that was the deal. Man, I drove 3 hours one time to get some of these baits, whatever that bait is, or man, I ordered, Tackle Warehouse I ordered 2 cases of this one color, and now I don't throw it. But like it was the deal at one time, and now it's not. And it's funny how that happened. You're like, damn. But what the cool thing about it is you tie it back on, and you go fishing, and you get bit. You're like, yep, I knew it. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like that Smoky Joe rattle trap, man. I knew that was a deal, and you fall back in love with them again, or that the Carolina rig. You're like, yes, I knew that was my boy, and then you go back to how did I live without you? You know what I mean? It's God, fishermen are crazy, dude.
Yeah. No, we are. I mean, it is that way. I mean, I don't know how many times you open up, your tackle box, like you said, you open up a boat, open up your boat, and you look in and you're like, man, I used to smoke them on that bait, and I stopped throwing it for some reason. We do that, and it's fun that you talk about that because and when you're talking about the pitching and flipping and hitting cover, getting on that again. One of the things that I've found this time of year especially, and I was going to ask you because you're a guy that does this. So when you're pitching and flipping on maybe you're a laydown or a rock wall or whatever it is, how many times I learned this when I fished in Florida, compared to when I fish here. California, we cover a little bit more water. We've got big reservoirs. We got different things that are, we have a lot of deeper water. We have areas to cover. So we're covering a little more area. How much or how many, I guess, I don't want to say how many casts you make, but how much time do you spend on a piece of structure? Let's say you find a good rock pile, or you find a laydown. How much time do you really give to that? If because it's so different here and there and different things. But I'd like to hear, like, when do you just go, yeah, this ain't gonna do it today? Do you wait to catch a fish, or do you just say, I know there's fish here?
That's a 3-hour conversation, but here we go. I'll get it done in a couple minutes. So the deal is, it's more of a pattern type deal, So you're running laydowns, for example, or boat docks, or a certain type of rock. Like I'm not fishing that tree for, we're talking about that one tree. I got 10 trees on this bank down here. That one tree, I just want to make sure I cover it with enough casts to get a bite. And generally, like you're talking about slow fishing. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm not gonna get, quick bites. But what I want to do is cover that tree tactically, and approach it tactically, and have a plan to attack the tree instead of just making random casts. Right. And I'm gonna borrow something from Mark Daniels. I heard him say in a seminar, and his word was foil, FOIL, first, outside, inside, last. So as I approach that tree, I want to hit the outside stuff first. And as you're approaching that tree, you want to make that cast across the front of the tree, see what happens, and then you want to go across the tree, the front of the tree, first cast, and then maybe I want to go to just the outside edges, maybe a foot, from the outside to a foot in that tree, looking at branches, looking at cross points, looking at anywhere you think a fish might be. And then from that point on, you want to make, 3 or 4 casts to the heart of the tree, right to the trunk, right to any mats that might be built up in there. If you got to picture that tree's down, that tree might be, if that tree's 40 foot tall, you got to imagine where that tree's going to come out to off the bank. So first outside, inside, last. So you're looking at probably, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 casts per tree, probably.
Right.
And then on to the next one. And you're running that, you're not counting on one tree to save your dean. But if we can hit enough of them and be efficient doing it, we'll be all right. So, it all depends on the size of the tree and where it's at and all. But you're looking at, 7 casts per tree or something like that to make sure you hit all parts of the tree. And then with fishing, as with all fishing, you'll start seeing a pattern. The fish will be on the tips of the tree or the heart of the tree. And then, the deal is to work as efficiently as you can to hit as many trees or as many docks, as many pieces of cover as you can a dean. But approaching that cover and fishing that cover with a tactical plan will definitely help you be more efficient and hit more cover, giving yourself a chance to get more bites.
Sorry about that. I seem to have swallowed them. So when you're looking at that and you start to, like with you love to flip, you love to touch, you like to see, feel those things. Do you switch it up during that? I like, hey, I'm going to make these flips. Is it all about your, what's the easiest word to say? I mean, like your confidence. You always start with your confidence. Like, hey, I think I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this bug, this jig in there, and it's going to work it out, and I'm going to get that fight. Huh?
Hold on. We got to do some editing on this one. I don't know what happened. Beginning of the question, it got caught.
No. So, you got me now?
Yeah, we good now.
So, basically, the question was, when you're talking about working these trees, hey, I'm gonna cover these. I think this is where I'm gonna get bit is on these trees. You found the structure or whatever you want to work. Do you switch up? Like, hey, I went through there with a jig on this tree. I didn't get anything. I went through that jig. I went to the next tree with a jig. I didn't get anything. Do you go back and then re-hit them with maybe the spinner bait that you were talking about, or throwing the rattle trap past them? Do you go back to those and hit them with something bait, or do you do that while you're there? I mean, what's the, talking to the average guy who's not the, maybe just the weekend angler, coming from your perspective on how you fish it, are you more of one to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I went through there. I got him with the jig. I didn't get anything. You know what? Let me try the spinnerbait. Let me throw this in there. Or do you just say, you know what? My confidence is in the jig. I'm sticking with the jig, and I'm gonna do that.
At Ford Fairfield, we'll make your ownership experience simple. Our simple price, simple process is designed to save you time by eliminating the back and forth. That means you'll always get our very best highly competitive offer right up front. No games, no gimmicks. Our goal? To provide you with an exceptional experience. Stop by or book your appointment today. Ford Fairfield, simple price, simple process.
What I try to do is, if I'm not getting bit, but you just kind of keep moving on.
Okay.
But what I do, like, if I fish these trees, let's say I go through this certain area, a certain bend or a certain bank or whatever, and I got these trees. How this cover sets up has a lot to do with pattern, where the tree's at. That's the first part of it. What type of banks they on, where they at in the pocket, that type of stuff. That's part of the equation. But when I go through these trees, this one bank, and let's say I catch 4, 5, 6 fish down through this one stretch, and I caught them all flipping. What I do is something I do in fishing is called same but different. So I'll go back through the same stretch of trees, and I throw the same thing, something that's kind of similar but something different. So if I caught them flipping a jig, I may go back and drop a single on them, or come back with a spinnerbait and slow roll that spinnerbait through there. Something that's kind of slow in their face, same but different. Spinnerbait, chatterbait, buzzbait, bobber plopper. Just those type of baits that are really similar, but really different. And then what happens at that point is you may develop a better pattern. So if you go through that and you caught them flipping a jig and you caught 3 fish, which is a start. So now you got confidence in this area. But man, that's just, now we know where the fish are. We can try a few different things, see if we can get a few different bites. Yeah, I come back with that spinnerbait or something, or that rattle trap. Or if we fish in trees, a square bill is another good deal where you can hit it and make it deflect. Yeah, I definitely show fish different baits in the same area. Try to, because a lot of times what'll happen is you get a few extra bites. So if you go through and you catch 3 on a jig, 3 or 4 on a jig, and you come back through slow rolling that spinnerbait, if you can get another bite or 2, it worked. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then what'll happen sometimes is you catch 3 or 4 on a jig, and you come back through the spinnerbait or square bill or whatever, to give them a different look, and you catch more or bigger fish, because that's just a stronger pattern. And you'll know it's right. Well, you'll see the bigger fish of the bigger fish if you're catching 4-pounders now instead of 2-pounders. But when they start taking the rod out of your hand or start getting it deep in their throat, you know you're doing the right thing. Talking about another deal, talking about wintertime fishing, flipping and punching, those 2 things, the bites are sometimes different. Because the water temperature is cold. A lot of times when fish are just lazy and lethargic is a word we use a lot. So that bite, generally you like to feel a good right hand to the jaw, a good knockout punch, that kind of bite, And sometimes that does happen because you get reaction strengths, and that's just part of fishing. But a lot of times too, punching and flipping, and even on moving baits, rattle traps and spinner baits and stuff, that bite won't be the traditional thump bite. It'll just be that mushy bite. It'll just be that weight. It'll just be that something different. You won't even feel a bite. It'll just be there. And that's something to keep in mind when you're wintertime fishing or cold, fishing in cooler water. It may not be the traditional thump. It'll just be something mushy. So you don't want to sleep on them hook sets. And the worst thing, me and my fishing partner talk about this all the time. No checking. Don't check. So if you throw that jig in there and it's kind of mushy, and let's say that rod is at 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock rod position, and you feel something mushy, and I got a bad habit of picking that rod up. Now I'm at 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30, checking to feel something. And the next thing and when you're doing that, when you're checking that fish, the next thing you feel, drop the fish, let go of the jig, or let go of the plastic. So like we tell ourselves all the time, no checking.
No checking.
If you think it's a bite, set the hook.
Yeah.
And over if you think about it, if you look back at your own experience, I know for me personally, some of the best bites I've had, some of the biggest fish, and some of the best days I've had have all come off of hook sets that I didn't know what it was. So how many stories have you heard about, man, I thought that was a brim, it was just peck. It ends up being a 7-pounder. So yeah, no checking when you're flipping. No checking.
Yeah, that's probably a one of the things that I think a lot of guys do, especially the average weekend angler guy who's not fishing 4 or 5 days a week, and he's not out there preparing for tournaments all the time. He's kind of out there, and it's like you miss a lot of bites doing that, and it's important to have, and that's where that good good equipment, good line, all that comes in handy. But just like you said, hook sets are free. Set the hook if you think you find if you think it's a fish at all. And if it's grass, it's grass, but whatever. We've all set on that 7-pound treat.
Yeah. But what's funny, we've all set the hook on a tree and been like, man, I thought that was one. But I'm telling you that when you a lot of times you flip it in and you're not sure, and like I say, you set the hook, and when you set the hook and you're not sure, really set the hook. because
Yeah.
you know we've all gotten caught where you kind of half-hearted set the hook, and it was a big one and you tied you up because you didn't set the hook and get him out. Or a lot of times too, like you flip that bait in there and you feel something and it's different. You set the hook and nothing, and you're still not sure if it was a bite or not. Flip right back in there, and then when that, you know, it was a soft bite, it was a weird bite. You set the hook, but you're still not sure if it was a bite. You're still not sure it was a bite. A lot of times, if you get right back into him, and that bait's falling, he'll come back and get it, and that second bite will be harder, and it'll be more of a traditional bite.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another thing about flipping that I just kind of touched on. Man, when you think it's a bite, flip back in there. But, you know, if you could picture a frog bite, that fish blows up on that frog. You set the hook, you miss him, you throw back in there, twitch, fish come back and get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that happens a lot with flipping, where you flip in there, you get a weird bite, you set the hook, the bait flies out of the water. Down there under the water in that tree, that fish is still looking. He's looking for the bait. He's looking to finish his deal. And if you hurry up and get that bait back in there, he'll bite again. And that second bite a lot of time comes on the fall, comes on the
right,
or comes early in the cast, because that fish he's activated, he's ready to roll. So soft bites, set the hook. When you miss him on the hook set, get right back into him. That'll save the day a lot of times. I get excited when I start talking about fishing, man. You see that? Like, man,
that's good. That's a good thing.
It's fun, man. When it all works out, it's fun. I love it. It's a fun game we get to play.
I think that's one of those things that separates the pros from the amateur guys who do this, is that excitement. I mean, you're not an old guy by any stretch of the imagination, but you're still, you still get excited. You still get pumped up when these things, when you talk about this stuff, and it's awesome to see. You can't do this as a profession and not be excited when you catch a fish.
Yeah, that's I guess that's true about anything. There's always saying that if you enjoy your job, you never really got to go to work.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I've never really, for a couple of years I had a job, but besides that, I've always enjoyed what I've done. So
yeah, there's a couple things that you let people kind of know who you are a little bit too. We were talking earlier, and you were before you decided to waste all your money and become a bass fisherman, you were a sheriff and down in Louisiana. What kind of gave you that, what was that trigger? What was that like? Hey, I'm going to go do this for a living because what was it?
Well, I really wanted coaching football was a possibility. Coaching high school football, but I knew if I coached high school football, I wouldn't be able to fish for a living. Yeah. Like that opportunity was just off the table, because where I live at, there's team tournaments and team championships and all that's all in the fall. So man, I'd see all these tournaments going on, and I was a big fan. I knew a lot of them dudes, and I just couldn't think of growing up and not being able to fish these classics in the fall. So that my want to fish was greater than my want to coach football. So football went on the side. Yep. I wanted to fish for a time, but we just don't know how. I knew I needed to go to work and get a job and take it from there. And law enforcement, I ended up in law enforcement because I believe in law enforcement. I believe in public service. I believe in helping people. I believe in bad people going to jail. And it was, I enjoy helping people. I enjoy teaching people. I enjoy my community. So it was just a good fit. And I got to do it from my house. You get to stay home. You don't have to move away. You get to help the community you live in. So that's all why I went in. And in the pro, the biggest pro was we work a shift work. So you only work a few days and then you off a few days and you work a few days and you off a few days. So I could be on the water a whole bunch. That was a big deal. And then I knew I could still fish tournaments at that point. Once I got established and got to working. So it was the best of both worlds. I got to be a part of public service and help people, and I got to fish tournaments and be on the water a whole bunch. And I still got to coach football, which I still do in the fall now. Volunteered at the local middle school. So that was a good solid foundation. Gave me a retirement, gave me some cash, gave me it was a good job. Got to learn from some good dudes. It was just a good foundation to start with. And then the plan was if I was gonna fish, I was gonna chase fishing up until I was 30 years old. And if by 30, if nothing had happened, the plan was to apply with Louisiana State Police and just have a career in law enforcement. But luckily, which I'd have been fine with working in law enforcement for some time. But it was thankfully caught a couple breaks and caught a few fish. And when I got the chance, I jumped at professional fishing, which by no means was I mean, you're looking at professional fishing, a big gamble. So I had like 11 years in law enforcement. I started when I was 18 in Louisiana. They can hire you at 18, which is kind of funny. I look back and I'm thinking, what was that sheriff thinking? But I mean, I walked away from I kept my retirement and stuff, but I mean, I walked away from the time. Had I never quit to go fishing, I'd have been in for 20 years. Yeah. Which is, I could have retired at a certain point. You could retire at 20 years and at 38 years old started another job and had 2 careers. So I walked away from a bunch, but man, like just the chance, the opportunity, the dream to really do what you want to do, I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. That's that's great. I mean, it's a good story right there. Basically, to have, you don't get a lot of times to chase your dreams, and for you, it seems to work out that you went about it the right way. You got to have this. It sounds like this has been something you've thought about for a very long time. Like you were doing this, you wanted to be a fisherman for a while. I look at, how do you look at what the opportunities now for these younger guys coming up is, I don't think you were around when they had you weren't there when they had the high school teams and the college teams and paying for education with that, college, all this stuff. So what do you think about all that?
Well, the plan for my plan, the dream to fish professionally started at like 12 or 13 years old. I was in junior high, and they asked me, what you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a fisherman. I want to fish professionally. That had always been the plan. I just needed a way to bridge the gap and make some money, but yet still lay a foundation for a career going forward. So everything I did up from 13 all the way through was built to keep taking strides to professional fishing. That was the plan, which is a big part of and chasing your dream and doing that. There was you got to sell out. Talking about high school fishing now, and to the kids that want to do it professionally or do anything professionally, take to really achieve something. You got to sell out and do everything you can and put everything you can into that plan, Right. But the high school fishing currently and college fishing is it's a good thing. Well, it's two-sided. People may throw rocks at me for saying this. It's a good thing, and it if it's not handled right, it can end up burning people. The good thing about it is that we're bringing people into fishing. we teaching fishing, we passing on our sport. I think I know locally with the clubs I know of, we getting kids into fishing that were into nothing. And when kids into nothing, that usually means they wind up in trouble some kind of way. Mm-hmm. So we getting kids involved with school events and fishing events, kids that never been involved before, which is great. We're teaching competition, we teaching fishing, we teaching about taking care of nature, and that's all good stuff. The backside, here's where they go throw rocks at me. The only thing we got to be careful with is we need to make sure we teaching kids proper tournament etiquette and proper the way to fish tournaments. Mm-hmm. And that is to scout hard, be on the water. We all call around for help to find fish from time to time, but that's not how you win tournaments long term and be successful. We need to make sure we're teaching them not to cut people off, teaching good tournament etiquette on the water. And then another thing we need to make sure we do a good job of is promote fishing.
Right.
And not promote sponsorship. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. So like if you 15, 16, hell, now they're fishing at 12 years old. Right. If you 12, 13, 17 years old, you in high school, even if you a local dude at home, 25 years old, working a job with a kid, a house, we need to promote fishing. Go fishing. You don't need a $80,000 boat, 25 rods, a 4-wheel drive diesel truck to go fishing. You don't need sponsors to go fishing. Go fishing, have fun. There's nothing wrong. There's no shame. There's just being a regular fisherman is fun. If all you do is fish on Saturday mornings from 8 to 12, we love you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's no shame in that. We need to make sure that we're not pushing this macho deal where you have to have sponsors. You have to fish tournaments. You have to be a millionaire to do the game. Because that's not true. I mean, tournament fishing has its part in fishing, and I love tournament fishing, and I'm crazy about it. And I have a big boat and I have a million rods, but that's what I choose to do. And that's great to do it, but that's just a small part of fishing. Fishing is fishing, man. And right. I get worried that when I talk to these kids, the first thing they want to talk about is how you get sponsors. Right. I'm like, let's talk about spinnerbait fishing, So, right. Man, I think we're doing a great job of bringing people into the sport. I just think we need to make sure we do a real good job of teaching them about our sport of fishing. Right. And then once you get into fishing, there's fishing. There's a lot of fishing, and there's a lot of fishing and fishing. You got anywhere from ice fishing to tournament fishing to Saturday morning fishing to club fishing, and that all those different slots make up this great sport of fishing. Right. It's not all tournament fishing. So, but overall, I think it's great that we're getting people into fishing. I think it's a really good deal. You think they'll throw rocks at me for my opinions on that side, or do you think it makes sense?
Well, I'll stand there with you and get the rocks thrown too, because I believe the same way, man. I'm definitely a person who believes that, you don't have to have all that stuff. Is it nice? Absolutely. Is it something that you will enjoy if you've got a $80,000 boat and a big diesel truck and yada yada? Absolutely, sure. Something you might want to put into your dream plan or your bucket list or whatever you want to call it and say, that's one day I want to be there. But I believe with you, we need fishermen. We need people who are more interested in the sport of fishing, more interested in just going out and having a good time in nature and loving what they do and not being drawn into, for lack of better terms, the macho-ness of what bass fishing is, or fishing in general. You've got to have all these things. You don't have to have all those things. If you got 5 rods in your boat, or you got 5 rods in your garage, and you get up, like you said, every morning and go fishing on a Saturday or Sunday and spend a few hours out there in nature, maybe teaching your kids or teaching your neighbors or teaching somebody or helping out with the sport. Sponsorships, they can't support everybody. Somebody has to support the sponsor. And that's where we're missing out right there, is that guys want to have everybody give me stuff, give me money, give me this. Somebody's got to buy the product, so there won't be sponsors.
I think at a certain point too, it's intimidating when I think it can be intimidating to people when they want to, they want to get into fishing, and the first thing they think is they got to have big trucks and boats and motors and 50 rods, and that's not true. I mean, I personally started fishing. My daddy brought us fishing and stuff, but hell, my daddy had 2 rods. When I was a teenager, I would walk the bank. So yeah, man, fishing is fishing. But I would tell you this, to the dude that wants to be a tournament fisherman and wants to play that tournament game and chase sponsors and fish tournaments, shoot, chase that too, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
I love it.
No, there's definitely a place for that. I have people in my life, very special friends. That tons of people that just love fishing. And if I can take them fishing, or if I can get them out fishing, or if I can, do that, they love that more than they love the tournament aspect of it. And that's important. Yeah, like you said, that's important.
Yeah, my brother's like that. My brother, he fishes with me a couple times a year, but just likes to go fishing. I think it's important. But I on the high school fishing, I think it's great, man. We're getting a bunch of people in the sport, man. I'll tell you a story. They started a bass club here at the local high school where I'm at, and they started and have their meetings and stuff, and it's all good. And you can tell they're strong kids, academically, socially, athletically. For lack of better terms, they got the cool kids, kids that are active and cool and all that. And you could tell there was a group of those kids, good kids. I know them personally, and nice. They work hard, but they're cool kids. You know what I mean? On the other side of the room, there was a couple dudes that were good kids. I know them too. They had never really been involved in school, and they just kind of did their own deal and stayed out of trouble. But their group was small. They just had never really been involved. Just kind of shy and to themselves and stuff. Well, as this bass club gets going and they fish a couple tournaments, the little shy dude in the corner, he starts catching them. We come to find out, he's like the best dude in the club. So when they started in they started like in August, little Johnny's over there quiet and shy and he's friends with everybody, but he's not really the cool kid or nothing. He just does his own deal. Well, he starts beating them on the tournaments. And he starts winning, and nothing flashy, like 3 rods. His daddy just got a basic boat. This dude's like starts winning his tournaments. He ends up being like one of the best dudes in the club. And then by the end of the year, this dude he's known around school as a fisherman. You know what I mean? So he's now, I don't want to say a celebrity, but now he's confident. He's excited. He's got friends. You see him on social media hanging out. So that kid grew from his confidence grew, everything grew. And to watch that kid like use fishing to help him grow and get better and meet more friends and have more fun. It was cool. It was cool to see. It was I was proud of that kid. It was cool to see.
Yeah, those are great. That's the great story, man. Those are good things to hear in this sport that we do that. Cliff, we're gonna, we're getting that, pushing that hour. We're gonna wrap this up, but there's one thing out there that I want everybody to know, and you're the only one that can tell it. But your nickname, the Cajun Baby. You got to tell me where that came from, man.
Cajun Baby. Well, the Cajun Baby. I'll tell you the real story, real quick. Sometimes my stories can get long, but I'll tell you a quick version of it. 2008, fishing the Southern Opens at first Southern Open was at St. John's River, and at Fish Opens before in 2007, 2008, first Open, Southern Open, St. John's River. fishing around. I get a check. I finish like 22nd or 27th or 26th, something like that. I get a check in a tournament, first time I got paid fishing opens. And it was all good. So at that tournament, Chris Bowles was doing a weigh-in, tournament director, MC, and he's talking about, Terry was there, Big Show, his hometown, Big Show, Terry Scroggins and Ish Monroe and name dropping and promoting these dudes that were fishing these tournaments and stuff. And I'm kind of I can be a smart ass sometimes, but I can be sarcastic at times. And I said, man, you know what? When I make it to the big time, I'm gonna have me a nickname. So when they so they can call me out, I'll have a nickname, a call sign, and so that's what I'm thinking. And while I'm at that tournament, I walked down there and I got a local vendor selling hamburgers and stuff. And I told that woman I needed a hamburger and bought the hamburger. And she said, where you from? I said, well, Louisiana. Oh, I can tell by the way you talk. And I get that everywhere I go. Where you from? You sound funny. So that all happened in Palatka. So as I'm driving home from Palatka, I didn't sleep I got right on the road coming home. I'm delirious. I'm all excited because I got a check. And in my mind, I'm going, I have arrived because I got one check and open. So I'm coming up with this plan of what I'm going to do, when I make it. And I'm just thinking, well, I come up with some kind of way. I came up with the Cajun Baby, Cliff Crochet. And I said, when I make it, that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to do. I didn't know if I was going to make it. I had no idea. I was just having fun. and so fast forward to 2009 opens. I qualify for the Classic, qualify for the Elite Series. And I got this Cajun Baby in the back, burning, I got on the back burner. Hadn't told nobody about it, just but a few friends. So when I'm getting my boat wrapped, my buddy says, man, you ought to put that Cajun Baby on your boat. I'm like, that's silly. He's like, nah, man, you ought to do it. I'm telling you. And that was Ken Sherman. Ken rigs my boats for me. So I go to the wrap shop. I said, man, put, on the name on the side of my boat. I said, put the Cajun Baby Cliff Crochet. And so the sticker went on the boat. And I get to the Classic and I get a couple pictures of it, in the photo galleries and stuff. And Keith Allen was the MC at that point. And he got a hold of it and Cajun Baby Cliff Crochet, that's how he called me in the arena. And between him calling me that in the arena and a couple pictures online on Bassmaster.com, it kind of stuck. And that's just kind of how it started. That's how it grew. And that is probably the stupidest, smartest thing I've ever done in my life. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't realize it would be like a marketing deal, like a
yeah.
But it was it stuck, and I like it. Hopefully, I guess to a certain point, it promotes Louisiana and Cajun culture and where we come from, and it's been fun. It's been good. It's always part of the conversation, no matter where I'm at.
Well, that's awesome, man. Cliff, thank you for coming on, bud. I really appreciate it. Your stories are great. I don't care. I'm sorry, but I'm one of the guys I love just standing there ripping and going for a long time. But I've been requested to make these a little shorter, so we're gonna keep them to an hour. So, because I can go for a long time, just like you, buddy. But I appreciate you coming on, man. It was super fun. Great information. A lot of good stories right there. I wish you the best out there on the tours. I hope to get you on here again in the future. Go out and win one of these things so we can come on and talk about that win.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I do want to pass on a few things. Social media, Cliff Crochet, ask everybody to follow me, check me out. And for the people listening, to the fans of the sport, I want to say thank you for supporting our sport, giving us a job. And thanks for following us on the tours and being part of the fishing community. Thanks for following us. Appreciate y'all. If it wouldn't be for y'all, we would be I'd be writing speeding tickets this morning.
All right, man. Thank you, Cliff. I appreciate it again. Guys, thanks for tuning in. This is the BAM Pod, and I'm Big Ed signing off tonight. Tune in the next week. We'll look at our next 2 weeks from now. We'll have another good show on here, and hope you enjoy it. Mark and I will be out doing some fishing, and we'll have some videos up. So go check out our YouTube channel. Cliff, do you have anything on any of the other social medias like the YouTubes or anything like that you do while we're?
Yeah, I have some stuff on YouTube, some tournament stuff, tournament recaps and that type of stuff. Some tips and tactics. Should have some more coming in after the first of the year. I'm learning YouTube stuff and trying to be more involved with it. But yeah, check me out. It's Cliff Crochet across all platforms on social media.
All right. Well, you guys do the same thing, and thanks for coming in.